Hello, this is Billy. Welcome to my new journey. In this series of videos, I'll be solving LeetCode problems using both SQL and Pandas. Hope you enjoy it, and let's dive in and start the journey.
Okay, LeetCode problem number 262, trips and users. For this problem, we are given two tables. The table called trips, which has 6 columns, and the table called users, which has 3 columns. For the first table, it seems it have the ID, which is a primary key for this table, and the client ID, driver ID, city ID, status of each trip, and request date. For the users table, we have 3 columns. Users ID, it's like a dimensional table in this case, so it has like descriptive values about explaining the user's role and whether it's banned or not. So in this problem, it seems we have to calculate the cancellation rate. It is basically computed by dividing the number of cancelled trips by the total number of requests on that day. And we have to consider those users have to be unbanned, whether it's a client or driver. And so the solution asks us to find the cancellation rate of requests with unbanned users and the day between 1st of October to 3rd of October. So the result should be rounded by 2 decimal points, and we can return the result in any order. So output should look like this. We have a day column and the cancellation rate column. And if you can see the name of this column, cancellation and empty space and rate, usually it's not best practice to name the column with a space between 2 words. Usually I use underscore to connect those 2 independent words. So you have to consider this edge case in our solution. So let's move on to the solution part. First, I'm going to use SQL Oracle to solve this problem.
Okay, let's move on to the solution part. Now I'm going to use Oracle SQL to solve this problem first. Like I mentioned before, I like to start my query with common table expression because it makes the query much more easier to read and understandable in the future. So there won't be any confusion later. And I'm thinking to solve this problem in 2 steps. First, I need to select and filter out only unbanned users, whether the user is driver or client, and taking the date between October the 1st and October the 3rd. So I'm going to do this step first by writing common table expression. And let's name this common table expression as unbanned users. Inside the common table expressions, I'm going to select some columns. So let's do that later. But first, we should merge trips and users table to get our unbanned users. And since both the client and driver should be unbanned, so in order to solve that, we have to join users table into the trips table twice. So let's do that. First, we need our trips table, and let's name it as T. And I'm gonna use inner join, and this time users table, and then let's name it as U, stands for users, and C stands for client. So UC on T dot client ID column is equal to UC dot users ID and uc.banned column should be equal to no, so that we can take our unbanned users. Let's do this step again. Users table. This time I'm gonna name it as U stands for users, D stands for driver. On t.driver, driver ID is equal to ud.users ID and ud.banned column should be equal to no. So naming the tables are crucial because in the future, some of maybe you forgot what the query is doing. So it's very good practice to name the columns and then the tables based on the data, based on the goal. And since we take unbanned users now let's move on to the date, filtering out the date. And we should use where function. And the date column is in a varchar, so I think the simple between function could do the trick. First request 80 column. T.request 80 column should be between those two dates, and those two dates are 2013, October the 1st, 2013, October the 3rd. And it seems we finished the filtering part. Now select some columns. It seems we don't need any columns from users table. So let's just, to make it simple, let's just take the everything from trips table. And let's quickly check whether our common table expression is taking everything we need. Okay, so the current output is taking everything from the table and the dates are between those three dates, so which is correct. Now we can move on to our main query without a worry. In the main query, we have to calculate the cancellation rate, which is basically number of canceled requests divided by the total number of requests on that date. So in order to get that, we have to group the data by the date column. So let's do that first. Request 80 column, and let's name it as day, like the output suggested. And after that, we should do the calculation. And in order to do the calculation, there could be like two ways, using the sum function and taking the all uncancelled canceled requests and dividing by the total number of requests. But I'm going to use the average function, which is basically the same thing, but it looks much more neat and then easier to read. And inside the average function, I'm going to use write some case. And in that case, I will take status column. And if the status column is in between, either cancelled by driver or cancelled by client, then let's give the row as 1, and else it should be 0. So that we have done the whole calculation within this average function, and it is a robust way to calculate the percentage of cancelled requests. And since the result should be rounded by 2, so before our average function, let's write some rounding function to make it look nicer. Let's round it by 2, and then let's name it as cancellation rate. And like I mentioned before, those column name contains a space between them. So it's not the best practice, but since the output is asking us to name this column as cancellation space rate, so in order to achieve that in Oracle SQL, we have to use double quote. And inside the double quote, I'm gonna write cancellation space rate. But in a best practice, I usually name those kind of columns using underscore. And we have to take all those columns from our unbanned users. And since we are grouping it by the request, oops, it seems I did wrong. Let's make it correct. Okay. And do we have to order it? No, it seems we don't need to order the result, but I like I like it to order by request state to make it look clean. So this is my solution for this problem, and let's run it to check whether it's working or not. Okay, it seems we are missing a word. So since we checked the common table expression, which was working just fine, so the issue should be between these. And let's quickly check it. So we have our average function, which is ended perfectly, and when the status column contains those two, then we are calling it 1, else it's 0. And oh, okay, we didn't end this case one function. Okay, let's try to run it again. Okay, so this is my approach to solve this problem, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'm gonna use Python pandas to solve this exact problem. Okay, let's solve this exact problem using pandas library. And this time again, I'm gonna solve this problem by two steps. First, the filtering step, filter by date and unbanned users. Next, we will calculate the cancellation rate, doing some aggregation and grouping by date column. Now let's do the first step, and this time let's filter by date first. And in order to do that, we will change the type of request at column because it's in the varchar. We have to convert it into the date time of pandas so that we can filter it. And let's take the column request at. It should be equal to pandas to date time and trips. Let's bring the column again. Now we successfully converted this column into date time. Now we can able to filter it by the date. Since our date should be in between two dates, in order to solve that, we will use the data frame, trips, and I'm gonna filter it separately. So let's bring the request at column. And at first time, it should be equal and greater and equal to 2013, the October the 1st. And again, this column request at column should be less and equal to 2013, October the 3rd. Now we successfully filtered by the date. And in order to make it looks clean, let's leave a comment and name it as filtering the date column. And next, we need to filter by unbanned users. So let's name it as keep only unbanned users. For this, since we used the merge function previously in Oracle SQL, so I'm gonna try a different approach. And let's name this as unbanned users. And for this series, I'm gonna create a Boolean value which brings true or false based on the criteria I wrote. So for this Boolean value, we are gonna users data frame, and in that data frame, users banned should be equal to no, and it should apply for a column of users. Oops, users ID. So in order to take, oh, I forgot the lock here. And we are successfully created a series that brings us true or false based on whether the users are banned or not. So for our trips data frame, we will apply this into our two column, which is client ID and driver ID. Again, trips, we will take the client ID first, and it should be in our created series. And again, since we need two columns, again, trips, this time it will be driver ID. It should be in our unbanned users series. So we successfully filtered by date and keep only unbanned users. Okay, now let's move on to our aggregation and grouping by step. And in that step, let's leave a comment and name it as a final result. And let's name it as result. And in order to achieve our result, first we need to create a new column again, which is called day. So in our result, I'm gonna assign trips, sorry, trips data frame. I'm gonna assign this new column, and let's name it as day, and day should be equal to our request at column. And since we converted this column previously into the date time, but the output asks us to bring this format, so we have to change and convert the type into string. So in order to do that, we should string format time uh, and the format should be year, month, and date. So in order to achieve that, let's first put the year and oops and month and finally the day. So what we have achieved so far is we assigned a new column called day, and for this column we uh, bring the request at column by converting it into the string format, which is year, month, and date. Oops. Now let's do our aggregation part. First, we need to group. Oops, I group by our new column called day, and we should aggregate it by our previously created new column is cancelled. And like I used the average function in Oracle SQL, I'm gonna do the same with the main function. And since the result should be rounded by 2 decimal points, I'm gonna round it by 2. And since we are aggregating it, we should reset the index and let's name it as cancellation rate. And let's return our final result and check whether our approach is correct or not. Okay, it seems we did some error and let's correct it. And it should be around multiple columns, the same column. Okay, this is cancelled. It is one column. And you're okay. It seems I don't need this data frame. And let's check it again. It should do the trick and correct my mistake. Yes. So this is my approach for solving this exact problem using both Oracle and Pandas. And hope you enjoyed. If you have a different approach, leave a comment below and see you in my next videos.